Ingrid, you're muted.
Because she's counting.
Good evening, everyone. Our meeting is called to order at 8:03. We're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag
of the United
United States of
America,
America and to
the
the
republic for which
which
is
stands
one nation, under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and justice
for
for
all.
all. So we're going to begin with the superintendent's report. Dr. Sterling.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our September meeting, the last day of summer. We are going to begin with our summer school report. I am very happy to share with our community and with the board that our staff really did an outstanding job overall in terms of creating summer school this year. Obviously, with the COVID pandemic and our inability to meet in person was a challenge, but it did not stop us from working together and developing a program for our students to bridge the gap that could ultimately occur in terms of learning as schools were closed during that time. So this evening, I'm pleased to share with you that we have Erica Suarez as our summer school principal, Dr. Nicole Schimpf, who will pursue the special ed, and Jen Lunar, our assistant superintendent for curriculum, who are going to share with you this evening an overview of the program and the successes that we achieved this summer. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Lunar.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you. This evening, Erica Suarez is with us, our summer school principal for our general education program. She does not have much of a voice this evening, so I will be speaking for the majority of our general education program on her behalf. But I would be remiss if I did not thank her publicly for the outstanding job that she did in putting this program together this year. Much like many things since March, we have been creating things from scratch. Everything has been brand new, and this is the first time we have ever ran a summer virtual program before. It did allow us to really be flexible and creative in some of the different opportunities we were able to provide our students. We did feel as a district very strongly that we were still able to provide this opportunity for our students during this time of a pandemic. And we were really able to provide a very targeted program for the students of Valley Stream 30. So I'm going to share my screen with you. So this year, our participation rate was 97% and our average attendance was 93%. With this being a virtual program, this was actually up from our program last year that took place in person. So last year, our participation rate was 92% and our average attendance was 86%. So we were very pleased to have such high numbers on our participation and attendance by offering a program remotely. These are our staff members that supported our program and really did an outstanding job meeting the needs of students. What you'll notice in this schedule is that we had designed this program so that teachers were really able to focus specifically on ELA and math. So there was a focused ELA and math teacher at each of the grade levels. When you see the grade level, that is the grade that the students were exiting in June. So that's why there's no 6th grade cohort toward the bottom. You'll also notice for our students that were in kindergarten transitioning to 1st grade, they had both ELA and then a focused foundations program that Joanna Mankowski, one of our reading specialists, had oversaw. And this really targeted our kindergarten into 1st graders, their phonics skills. Toward the bottom of this chart, you'll notice our special areas that we were able to provide virtually to our students. They had PE, art, music, and in STEAM enrichment. As part of this, we did provide supplies to our students that participated in our summer program. So along with Ms. Suarez, we handed out materials at the last week of June for our students. Some of those included curriculum resources like our foundations boards, but we also provided certain supplies for art and our STEAM enrichment projects that took place over the summer. So here is a sample schedule for our students. Our students were online for 90 minutes straight with a teacher. Well, the way this was set up was that there was a Google Classroom for each grade, and our students would sign into a Google Meet, and the classroom teachers would rotate between their groups. So a teacher had 4 groups throughout their morning, but students had 3 activities during their morning. You'll notice on the bottom, we really did try to support language development for our entering and emerging ENL students this year. So our groups were focused 40-minute groups at a session that Ms. Consuelo Fasaro was our teacher this summer. Our students did utilize eSpark. At the end of the school year last year, eSpark had adopted a new adjustment to their program, which was a placement assessment. All of our students had taken the placement assessment the first week of July when they started their summer program. On average, our summer school students completed a little over 3 quests for the summer, which means that they had mastered those pathways that they were on by completing them. And this was a mixture of both math and reading pathways that they had been working on. Our parents and students were provided a survey to give us some feedback on how they felt the program had gone. So you'll see overall, the feedback was very strong that we received from parents as far as their satisfaction with the actual program, the communication, and the types of experiences that they felt that their child had, as well as the academic growth that they felt that their child made. And these are the questions that our students were provided in their student survey. So speaking about the actual accessibility to the program itself, the type of experience that they had, and also their overall learning for the summer. And here are some action shots of our students at home learning. So yes, the CUP activities, those were part of our STEAM and enrichment activities that Mr. Honorado facilitated this summer. So those were some of the supplies also provided to students. You see students working on their iPads. We were able to successfully provide all of our students in the district with a one-to-one device before the start of our summer program. So students entering grades 1 through 5 had an iPad, and students entering 6th grade had a Chromebook to utilize all summer, and especially for our summer program. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Shim for her special education ESY program.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So we had a very challenging year this year, and we needed to think out of the box in regard to what was the best way of servicing our special education children while also meeting the health and safety needs. So after getting some parent feedback, we did make a decision that we were going to do 100% remote instruction for our students, and all 8 components, as you can see, were incorporated. So we offered all the related services. We actually offered parent training in respect to helping parents navigate the instruction in the home. And instructional technology was at the forefront this year. Typically, our special education students are given one-to-one MacBooks and or iPads. So we were equipped to meet those needs, but we fully utilized the instructional technology component. If we can go to the next screen, Mrs. Lunar. So in respect to our participation, so participation for special education means that, you know, how many students were recommended by the Committee of Special Education. So these are students that are our most neediest students that have moderate to severe disabilities. Our general education program that Mrs. Lunar went over, that does include a number of our students that are learning disabled. So they were included in those numbers. These students we had a total of 44 students that was recommended by the Committee of Special Education. And we had 38 out of the 44 participate, that the parents wanted them to participate. Our attendance was 80% this year. It was a little bit lower than last year. We did have some challenges in regard to parents as well as our special needs children participating remotely, but that number was a high number for us, which I was proud of. We could go to the next screen. So as you can see, for our eligibility, the 44 was pretty much online in regard to what we had previous years. So we're usually in the 40 range in regard to students that are found eligible as 12-month students. And we're really looking at, are these children significantly regressing and need to have 12 months of instruction? Our program typically is 6 weeks. We do have New York State approval for self-contained classrooms over the summer. And we did look at redesigning our instruction this year to meet the remote framework. So what our staff did this year was we did have whole class SEL morning check-ins. We also increased contact time with our teachers over the summer compared to the spring. So every student had one-to-one Google Meet as well as small group instruction. They also had instruction activities in regard to Google Classroom. And on Fridays, there was project-based learning as well as virtual field trips because we were unable to do things like our forest garden and other things like that. So we try to make it as creative as possible. This is our special education staff. As you can see, we did get very good participation of our in-district staff. I do want to commend them. They did an excellent job. And I would say the two words that really described the team this year was they were extremely innovative and they were very flexible in regard to just meeting the needs of where the child was coming in and being very creative. So looking at our progress monitoring in regard to determining how children demonstrated growth, we did look at their IEP goals. We also did look at doing formative pre and post assessments. And based upon that data, out of the students that actually participated in the full program, 69% received ratings that they progressed either satisfactory with all their summer goals or they mastered their summer goals. 12%, which I gave you the number, what that entails, the teachers indicated that they progressed gradually. And one of the concerns was just their inconsistent attendance in regard to the Google Meets. And we had 0 who rated any not achieved goals. We didn't have any percentage of regression. So that was a positive thing. These are just a sample of the instructional supports as well as platforms that we utilize. So in regard to reading, our special education staff utilize a blended model where we utilize System 44, for example, where students were actually tracked utilizing certain software, as well as direct instruction by our special education teachers. We did use several apps. And I must say our special education teachers were extremely tech savvy and they fully utilized the Google Classrooms, what the parents participated in, and they were able to get activities to work with children independently. As I shared, we did do field trips this year, virtual field trips. So they went from Walt Disney World to actual academic field trips. So they were very excited about that. We also did following directions on how to make lemonade with our speech and language pathologists and the children. The main thing was when I went into the classrooms remotely, just having a smile on their face and then being engaged was really wonderful. This is just in action of some of the Google Meets that occurred in regard to our staff actually presenting to our children in regard to the visuals that they were providing them. We also gave a survey to our parents. We had about 53% of our parents fill out the survey. Overall, we did ask them how engaged their child was, their overall satisfaction, how well they felt we communicated with them. And overall, as you can see, they're either rated satisfied or very satisfied. These are additional questions that were asked for our parents. It's a little too small for me to read. One of the questions was in regard to if they felt that the special education program helped them not lose critical skills. And the other one was in regard to engagement. And both of them reported positive responses. So overall, the feedback that I also received from our parents verbally was that they were very appreciative that we provided them this support remotely, because a lot of them were concerned about having their child come back in person, but they did understand the unique challenges of their child participating fully. And we did have a few parents that we provided a parent trainer in the home to also support their Any questions?
Yes, I have one. I was just wondering, because you had listed there the OT PT therapy. How were you able to deliver that virtual?
Well, it was a challenge, but I must say, out of all the parent feedback that I received a lot of positive feedback about PT and OT, because the OT therapists and PT therapists basically utilize like everyday household items that
Really?
parents could utilize. They did a lot of outdoor activities, so parents felt comfortable to do those exercises with their child. So they really liked that because it also burned a lot of energy. It was creative. It was fun. And they were able to use just normal household items. Speech and language, is a challenge for our students, especially remotely. But our speech therapists were creative. They looked for something called boom cards, which makes the experience very interactive, game-like. And that really helped our children as well.
Oh, good. Okay.
I would say what was helpful for me is when I looked at the numbers with behind those charts really make a difference, because percentages can be deceiving. And when you say the number of participants, there were 44 students who were eligible and only 17 parents participated in the survey, that's helpful information. The others work well, but when you don't know the number behind it, it sometimes doesn't translate as well. So I thank you for that.
Also, just to share with you, we did have a number of parents who elected and requested from the committee just related services. They were not able to make the commitment for the full day program. So we were very flexible with those parents to make those accommodations.
Great.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I have one on the general education. How many students enrolled?
About 150 students.
Oh, okay. And how did you find, was it challenging having any areas of regression just because of the way education was delivered the last 3 months of school? Was there a problem that major catch up you had to do, or to keep them up to speed?
So our identification process for the general education student was typically we would utilize our winter NWEA scores and our running records that we have from the winter. So we did keep that as one of the components, but we really did ask for our teachers to provide input on students during the spring and their response, and did they notice any regression in students during our remote learning in the spring. So that was how students were initially identified, which was also why the students, when they met in their Google Meets on a daily basis, it was very targeted. We had groups of about 5 students that were meeting with teachers at a time so that they were really able to address students' needs. Ms. Suarez did an excellent job of grouping students together by their reading levels so that you really had homogeneous groups that had a dedicated focused time to work on specific skills.
Thank you. I just have one question. Thank you both. That was very thorough. And I am pleased, Dr. Schmidt, to hear about all of the related services that were provided, because many districts were not able to do that. And so, yes, I'm smiling. So thank you for all of your work. I know that was difficult as a department to put to put through. My question is for both. For those surveys that were not returned, do we know what was the barrier for not getting those responses back? Was I saw you had 17. I can't remember now what the number was for Miss Lunar. Do we know maybe why that wasn't filled out? Was there
Part of me feels, I verbally called them up too. Some of them were a little bit, we gave out a lot of surveys at that particular time in regard to what was going on with the reentry. That was a component of it. And I think the other piece is just the technology. So we try to give them other options. But yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? Well, Dr. Shrimp, Ms. Suarez, and Ms. Luna, and the summer school staff, thank you very, very much for your hard work. And we can see that we had a very successful summer program. And again, we owe it all to you to keep us so successful in the summer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you also on behalf of everyone here in the district. President Wiley talked about the success that we obviously experienced this summer, and I'm happy to report as we are beginning our third week of school, we are experiencing a great deal of success as it relates to our opening. And I'd like to share with the board and the community at this point an update as it relates to the opening of school that started 3 weeks ago. Ms. Lunar? So we began school on the 3rd, and we had 2 days of professional development for our staff before we actually opened school. We also had our meet the teacher night prior to opening school so that we could get an opportunity to meet with parents before actually starting school, especially for those parents that were starting remotely. I can't say enough about the planning that took place over the summer and the work and contributions that were made by our task force that were representative of all of our constituencies in our school district. Obviously, our plan is based on guidance that has come from the State Education Department, the Governor's Office, and the Health Department. Next slide. I want to share with the board that we are very pleased with our students, especially our students, because we were very concerned about their ability to manage face masks throughout the school day if it was going to be an issue, and it has not been. For the most part, our kids are coming in very cooperative. Yes, there are a few kids who may need support with the face mask, but we're working with every child in regards to that. Our kindergarten children came in ready. It was incredible. So we are very pleased with the face mask. Face masks continue to be worn by all who are on school grounds. And we were encouraging that not only of our parents, our staff, and our students. Next slide. The temperature checks has rolled out extremely smoothly also, in the sense that we were concerned about this taking a great deal of time, and it has not been a great deal of time. Our entry in the morning goes very quickly, but we are monitoring the temperatures of our kids, and we continue to encourage our parents that they also should be taking their temperature before they leave their homes so that we can manage any possible illnesses that are apparent with our students. Next slide. Social distancing, that was a great concern. You know, can we do it in schools? I think from what we have seen over the last 3 weeks in our classes are set up for the social distance of 6 feet. Transitions throughout the building are minimal. Kids are learning about keeping their own distance. Kindergarten kids, I keep going back to that because I'm so proud of them. They understand the alligator length in terms of their arms and keeping that out as they're walking. So social distancing is just a clear understanding overall, and we are continually supporting our kids and reminding our kids about social distancing when either they're getting too close or standing for any particular amount of time next to individuals. So that has not been a problem. We have limited our access to visitors and volunteers. I have to say, people who have come to our buildings have been very cooperative and understanding. Our parents have also understood, and those that have had a need to be in the building have made their appointments or have worked with us in terms of managing the issues that are on one person's plate. For instance, if there's something going on with a particular child and or family. We will continue to do this. We are using the survey for our visitors to also fill out, so we do know who's in the building. And we continue to support our visitors and volunteers. And again, masks are provided if they need to be in the building, so forth. Hand sanitization is continuing. In addition to washing hands in the bathroom, we have it in all the classrooms. That has not been an issue in terms of hand sanitation, and we do have a good supply. Movement throughout the building has been minimized to a great extent. We do have special area teachers who are pushing into classrooms so that the kids don't have to travel throughout the building. We really keep our kids pretty much within the classroom. They will leave for the bathroom breaks, so forth, with limited numbers. They're following the protocol for the number of kids in the bathroom very well. We have taken advantage of the good weather, so we've had some classes that actually have been taught outside, and breaks have been given to kids so that they can go outside. But general overall movement that one would have seen in the past definitely has been limited at this particular point without any issue. Common area modifications. The special area classes are continuing also to implement the social distancing. And I talked about push-ins and collaborative activities and shared resources are minimized in regards to what is happening in our schools. And I do have to say, our PE teachers, we talk about creativity, they really have done an excellent job in terms of creating activities and movement for our kids in a way that it can still be fun, but it may not necessarily be the same way they used to have PE in the past. So, you know, we appreciate all of the work that has been put in, especially in the PE area. Meal service, this was also a new thing for us as it related to how we were providing our meals throughout the day. Everything is done within our classrooms. But I also want to note for our community that meal service is also provided to all of our families on days that they are remote. So meals are available at our schools if need be for multiple days for pickup. The students, however, have done an excellent job in terms of maintaining cleanliness in the classroom, staying in their seats, eating their lunches, keeping their masks off, and then putting it back on once they've finished their meals. Has run relatively smoothly. Our aides have been a tremendous help in terms of delivery of food to the classrooms. Our custodial staff has been outstanding in terms of pickup and cleanup, and has not made for a difficult situation at this particular point in time. Obviously, we're not doing any kind of activities that require large gatherings in our schools, and we will continue to do that because these are part of the guidelines as per the Department of Health. Classroom modifications, if you were to come in, and you could have seen this in terms of our videos that we had shown at the beginning of school, we are using 6 feet distancing between our desks. We've taken out a great deal of furniture from the classrooms. Even that done, the classrooms are still inviting because our teachers have really decorated the rooms in a very warm and friendly way. The barriers that we spoke about that are being installed throughout the building has begun and should be done by October, so that when we look to possibly transition, they will be in place for all of our classrooms. Our instructional models that we have implemented at this point. Okay, The instructional models everyone should be aware of at this point being a hybrid model on A/B days with students in and then students also receiving instruction remotely, or that you could have chosen a remote only where you're getting virtual learning 5 days per week. I want to indicate that kindergarten students have a wonderful transition, and the decision to bring them in more than others because of the fact that they had not had any in-school experience in terms of formal was a good thing. And the feedback from our teachers is that the kids made a wonderful transition, and they are very pleased to have the kids in 4 days a week. The same is true for our contained special education students. They really benefited from the 4 days a week start that we have had in place. Technology support, Ms. Lunar had shared with you that we do have a one-to-one program. Everyone has a device. We've addressed any issues that relate to net access. A significant amount of instructional apps and resources were put forth at the beginning of the school year, as well as trying to establish help desks, videos, parent and staff training, all of this done within the first 3 weeks. Depending on the grade level class, we did have some hiccups, which we attended to and continue to monitor, but we have come to understand that a great deal of our support that is being requested requires staff to be available to multiple families during the day, and we're looking for ways to reduce either questions that may be common. That's why we have common FNQs that we provided, as well as the training videos and help desk. Ms. Lunar, do you want to share anything specific to the remote models that our community and board might be interested in knowing at this particular point, and that we're just going into our 3rd week?
So while we're currently running 2 different programs, 2 different instructional models, both a hybrid and a remote model, our teachers have been doing an outstanding job really utilizing our curriculum pacing guides that our teachers had worked on over the summer. So we had some fantastic curriculum projects that focused on the first 6 weeks of school and really laid out a calendar. And the understanding is that we really do need to be in sync, as Dr. Sterling said, with the possibility of transitioning all of our hybrid students back, with the possibility then in December of families having a choice to switch from remote to hybrid. We need our students to be in the same place within our curriculum because of these transitions. Our teachers have been, like, as I said, have been doing an outstanding job utilizing the resources. Our professional development calendar that we have developed on an annual basis has built in professional learning community time to continue this work and to continue the discussions on the skills and standards our students need to become proficient in during the school year. And it allows them the time to have the conversations to make adjustments in their pacing and utilizing our core curriculum resources. We have been able to continue to provide all of our enrichment opportunities. Our instrumental teachers have been doing an outstanding job getting their groups all set up. We had instrumental teachers in today swapping out instruments for some of our older students as they've grown. They need a different instrument. We're also preparing to distribute instruments to our 4th grade students. So on October 5th, all of our music staff will be on hand to get our 4th graders up and running. Our instrumental teachers put together a wonderful video to really get our 4th graders excited about taking on an instrument this year, even though that these lessons will be taking place virtually. We had 150 out of 189 4th grade students sign up for an instrument this year. Our Quest programs continuing, our enrichment opportunities, our teachers are submitting applications to run after-school clubs virtually. So we're very proud of the fact that we're able to still provide all of our enrichment opportunities for our students in either model, our hybrid or our remote.
I also want to publicly thank Ms. Lunar for all the work that she has been doing behind the scenes as it relates to our instruction and the curriculum that we're putting forth. I think it's very important that when we move forward for this year, we're moving forward with a mindset that is not focusing on what we are missing or what we can't do, or, oh, this is just terrible that we can't be all together. we're really focusing on what we can do. And we're looking at our children in terms of not as a deficit model, not what have you lost or what's your gap. We're looking at where are you right now and what can we do to move you forward. So that's the mindset that we have in regards to working with our kids. We have to be positive for them, for each other, in order to make this work. The creativity and the innovativeness that just comes through day after day as you experience this has just absolutely been incredible. We are not perfect, but we are surely doing, I believe, a better job of preparing our students in school as compared to when we first started in the spring and just trying to figure it all out as we moved along. And again, I thought we did a great job in the spring, but I think we are even in a better place at this particular moment and look to build upon that. Next slide. The after-school programs and extracurricular activities, the YMCA is working with us, and obviously we'll make adjustments as the need for more childcare is needed. Extracurricular activities are also being developed, and we're going to try to create those that can happen virtually and support our kids in that manner also. And lastly, the community should be aware that we are monitoring our cases. We're working very closely with the Department of Health. I have to say, in terms of any issues that I have had over the last couple of weeks where I needed support from the Department of Health, I can publicly say that Dr. Buckman has been extremely supportive in terms of the work that is going in the Department of Health. To date, we have had no cases as of date. We continue to monitor, we continue to provide the cases that we are aware of to the Department of Health. That is, there is a dashboard on for that monitoring for all school districts, and we will continue to comply with that particular request. At this point, does the board have any questions concerning opening and anything that has been presented thus far? Jim?
Yeah, it's for the possibility of going to 5-day in-classroom teaching in October. Is that evaluation based on our data or New York State's overall data and them allowing us? Is it?
No, that is what will. It's less about New York State and more about the variables that will be taken into consideration. So we'll be looking at the positive cases that actually have occurred in Valley Stream 30, positive cases across the Valley Stream school districts at large, positive cases just in Valley Stream community, the entire community, positive cases in K-6 districts that have gone hybrid as well as full. We're looking at the attendance rates that have occurred in the hybrid model, the implementation of the barriers, and then the after-school supports that should be in place for those families that would need it if we were back 5 days.
Okay. So we basically have the go-ahead from the state, long as our
Yeah. The state basically indicated that's a local decision. They basically put out at the beginning of the year when they would be literally closing down schools statewide, and their metrics are above 5%. And right now in New York State, it's below 1.
Yeah. Okay.
Kelly?
The question in terms of, just to follow up Jim's question, the option of going full time in person and then 100% remote, those would then be the options for parents. There would be no hybrid option.
Correct.
Okay, what for those parents who may not still be comfortable, what would be the difference in terms of their scheduling, what in terms of what they're getting remote now as opposed to what they would be getting remote, or would it be the same?
So if for families that are 5 days a week remote, their day does look a little bit different than the hybrid. So they're all on with their classroom teacher to start their day. Everybody has their wellness period to start the day. Our social emotional check-in is critical. And then the classroom teachers are on live to do mini lessons with their whole class, but the majority of the day is spent in small groups where our classroom teacher is meeting with small groups to follow up for ELA and math. All of our students in the remote instructional model do have a special every day, so PE, art, music, enrichment, or library, as well as they're receiving their support services. So whether that's a speech or reading, an instrumental lesson, quest. So the curriculum is exactly the same. The types of supports are exactly the same. It's just the actual contact time they are on pretty much continuously throughout the day with a live teacher.
Okay. Okay, I just, thank you. I wanted to clarify for any of the parents that were watching in terms of what that would look like come that time. I know that conversations in other districts have been, what is that going to look like? You know, I'm afraid of sending them full time, but the truth is that they're in there 2 days a week already.
Right. And I think and I'm hoping that we were clear when we were providing the options, because what many districts did, they either said full in or virtual. That was the option, or they said it was just going to be hybrid and virtual for the year, and that was it. And we took the stance that we would work our way towards full in, which meant that we would begin with hybrid with the intent of going full in at some point.
Hi.
Sandra?
Two questions. The first, I guess, to just follow in pace with both Jim and Kelly regarding returning to school, full in for the most part. What is the cutoff date for parents to decide what they're going to decide, whether it's going to be fully remote or fully in school? And is that a rolling cutoff date? For example, if parents were to choose otherwise after a week or so fully being in school?
The beginning of notification would begin in the beginning of October. We're looking at a rollout that would be transitional over the period of time. We indicated by the 6th week that we would begin a transition of some form. The issue that I have to be very clear, the ability to make choices going back and forth between models is just not something that we can manage, because the behind the scenes support that is needed as it relates to schedules, the staffing is significant. So I need to really make it clear, because we have families that are on full remote, that understand that they can't make a move until after the first quarter. So the back and forth, that should not be something that people are understanding that's just going to be done at will. I've been saying pretty consistently that we will continue to take case by case and look at individual situations and try to work with each individual family, because things happen that may not necessarily fit perfectly into a box for everyone. And we're trying to really make it work. But at some point, I do need to say this publicly, that we may not have the seats and or space for kids based on the numbers that we are presently working with and the movements that are going back and forth. Because every time one child it impacts the overall program and our ability to actually deliver the service. So for instance, as an example, there was a high need in the 4th grade, and we ultimately had to add an additional teacher in order to be able to facilitate the requests that were being made. We don't have that bank of teachers at this particular point to continually just add teachers as we go along based on the feedback or needs of our families.
Thank you. That clarification is definitely important. My other question had to do with after school services for the parents or the families who would need that. What that would look like, if you have any idea, if it's something that I guess families can consider would look similar to the past in terms of the stretch of hours, or
yes. So the after school program as it stands right now, we have consolidated to one school based on the demand at this particular point. So there were not enough students to run the program at each of our buildings. So the program is coming out of Clearstream at this particular time. However, with the anticipated change, possibly, the YMCA is committed to having on-site at every building 5 days a week in the same manner as they had in the past.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just one quick one. Have you had any problems with, I know you give people, students devices if they don't have any. Any problems with Wi-Fi connections? Families that don't have any, they may not get cable or may not. Has that been an issue at all?
We've been able to provide families who don't have Wi-Fi with a hotspot. So the hotspot is actually ran through T-Mobile. So we have had a very small number of families who have expressed a need. We did initially purchase 10, but we are going through those. So we have purchased a couple of more. So we have them on hand should that situation arise for any family. We are able to provide them.
Great. Okay.
That's awesome. Ms. Luna, one more question. Are those unlimited data? Or do they have to call in order to?
No, it's unlimited because it's a hotspot, and it does provide up to, I want to say, 3 devices within the home.
Okay.
Mhm.
I know some of them are not unlimited.
And no HBO.
Thank you. Thanks for that one.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And thank you to everyone who has really made the transition, a very positive one overall. And I appreciate any feedback that has been provided thus far. And we will work with our families and staff as we move along and make changes, so forth, et cetera. So thank you. Let me move to the next item on the agenda. Just to update the community, last week we had our work session, and every year the board develops board goals, and these board goals are based on four major criteria areas, and the administration works with the board in terms of looking at areas that we will ultimately address. So this evening I wanted to share with the community the work that has come out of the board and what we are looking forward to the 2020-21 school year. This year, in regards to goals, the Board of Education continues to hold as its one goal is academics in terms of a major area of focus. And the board continues to support teaching and learning through the development of a comprehensive and rigorous curriculum that addresses the needs of all students. With that in mind, the board was successful last year in overseeing and making sure that a new strategic plan was put in place. So this year, we are looking at implementation, and the board will be receiving reports and updates on how we are doing as it relates to the implementation of the strategic plan. The board also will receive updates and reports specifically in major areas of focus, specifically in the continuity of instruction in the various instructional models, because obviously this year we are running very different types of programs in terms of frameworks for how we're delivering the curriculum, and we need to keep the board and the community abreast of how we are doing in these particular areas. A heart of what we do is the arts and education, which will be a continuation. Culturally responsive classrooms is not necessarily new to the district, but it is an area that we want to continue to focus on. And we will be providing the board on new and or redesigned activities that respond to cultural responsiveness in our classrooms across the district. Our technology initiatives also are being looked at very closely because of the different instructional models that we do have in place, and we will be sharing with the board how we have adapted and actually supported the instructional models through the use of technology. And lastly, because academics is such a strong focus for us, we also need to have benchmarks in place that will give us a sense of where our children are, as well as how they're doing. If it's not necessarily a comparison across state, how are we doing locally? How are we doing within a building? And those new assessments and or redesigned assessments will be shared with the board to give a better sense of how our kids are doing in these new times. Second area of focus is our personnel and human resources. The focus in this area for this year Obviously, we continue to look at our personnel, which is probably our most important resource that we have in our district. Professional development is a key area for us, so we will provide the board with updates as it relates to how we are supporting our teachers, and I hope and I anticipate even our parents in terms of virtual models and what happens there and how do we improve upon that. The other area that is a major area for us is supporting the efforts of the teaching staff to the recruitment of the teaching staff to reflect the demographic makeup of our student population. And we will look to review and implement strategies and activities that will assist us in our continued goal, actually, of diversifying the staff overall. In finance and operations, what is a major focus for us, obviously, is the monitoring of the implementation as it relates to finance and operations within our strategic plan. Forest Road is up this year, so a major goal for us is to monitor and work with our business department and the Forest Road School in terms of adding on to the building, the additional classrooms. The school district is also continually working not only on its technology, but on cybersecurity, and the board wants us to continue to provide updates as well as reports on anything that is specific to cybersecurity. And I have to share that this is a goal that I think is a good one, simply because we are more dependent on the technology than ever before, and we are leaving ourselves open to those that are out there who may want to infringe on what we're obviously doing. And we have a lot of ideas as well as protocols already in place, but we need to continually monitor that. Communication and community engagement is an ongoing goal area for us. And I think being in a year where we are in such a different environment, that communication is critical in regards to making sure that everyone understands what is going on, because everything is so new. So we will again continue to implement the strategic plan as it pertains to communication, and the board will get updates on that. We are also going to highlight this year communications and or activities where we can do it in multiple languages where possible, and we'll provide the board with updates on how we are doing in those particular areas. And lastly, engagement. Because of the COVID crisis, you know, the physical in-person activities that have engaged our families may not necessarily look the same this year. So we will be trying to develop different ways of keeping our families engaged and providing opportunities for family engagement in a different format that we had before, and we'll share with the board how we're doing in that area also. So these are the four major areas the board is putting forth, and the different sub areas that the administration and teaching staff will work with. The community should know that when we set goals for our buildings and then for our individuals that are in each building, we always look to the board goals, and we try to align our own personal goals to the board goals so that we are in unison and that we are all helping to achieve the goals that have been set forth by the district. Any comments or questions from the board at this point? I know we worked on them at the last meeting.
No.
Looks
We're
good.
okay. No questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. The last item on the agenda for me in terms of my report is enrollment. And I'd just like to share with the community that the enrollment numbers may look a little different this year simply because of presentation, because again, we're running two different models of instruction, and we have some teachers that are actually in multiple buildings virtually. So you might see multiple names, but getting right to the heart of it, we had 1,470 students in June when we closed the school year, and we now have 1,365. The difference in numbers is based on the fact that we had 243 students leave us in terms of sixth grade. That was one of our largest sixth grade classes. And we only had 149 actually enter for kindergarten. So that's where you're seeing approximately 90 plus students in terms of difference. So we didn't have that many kids leave the district physically in regards to just movement. It was more so based on what actually left and what actually entered overall for us as a school district. But we are monitoring enrollment as we move forward in the school year. We're very well aware that it increases, but I do believe that class size will be in a better place, quite frankly, in regards to where we are with the numbers that we have. And at this point, I have completed my report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sterling. Is there any correspondence for the board? I'm assuming there's none.
Mhm.
I am very happy to see that our hybrid remote model of instruction have been successful in so many respects. A great deal of this successful start is directly attributed to the hard work by all of the members of the district's reopening task force. The board appreciates your dedication to our children and your commitment to a safe learning environment and a successful academic environment. Thank you to our staff and teachers for embracing all of the changes in, around, and outside the classroom. Thank you to parents who have been very patient and cooperative. Everyone being on board and giving 100% created a very smooth opening, and that has continued. We are all facing challenges at this time, and the board is thankful and appreciative that you're all doing your part each day to ensure that we move forward. Thank you very much for all of your hard work.
Thank you.
At this time, will the Board of Education dispense with the reading of the minutes for the business meeting on August 24th of 2020 and the work session of September 14th of 2020?
Second.
Before we move that, there was a mistake in the minutes. It talked about President
Oh,
Laverick.
yes, I did see
And
that.
so that should be corrected.
Guess I'm back.
Trying to steal my position. There we go. Thank you, Ken. I did.
So
did
I
notice.
move that with that correction.
Okay.
Second.
Moved and second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Will the Board of Education accept as presented the minutes as listed for the business meeting August 24th, 2020, and the work session September 14th, 2020?
I move it.
Second.
Moved and second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now for the education agenda, Vice President Urena.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, everyone. For the education report, do any members have anything to pull at this time?
No.
Okay. In that case, I move items A through K.
Second.
Moved and second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
President, that concludes the education report.
Thank you, Vice President Urena. On the business,
Didn't she just go up to K?
That's all there is.
Oh.
That's all
there
right.
you go. Thank you, your president. On the business agenda, Trustee Okafor?
Thank you, Madam President. So for the business section, aside from M and N, do any members have any items that they'd like to pull?
That's it.
That's all.
All right. I will move items A through K, and items N through O. Actually, items A through L and items N through item O. Okay, reading item M. Donation backpacks. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, will the Board of Education accept a donation of backpacks and school supplies for students in the district from the office of Senator Todd Kaminsky?
Okay, Sandra, I'm gonna go back a little bit. So I'm
Okay.
gonna do all of the agenda except M and N. So can someone second that?
I second it.
So on the agenda, with the exception of M and N, moved and second on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed?
No opposed.
Okay. Motion carries with the exception of M and N.
Thank you. Rereading M and N. For donation backpacks for M, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, will the Board of Education accept a donation of backpacks and school supplies for students in the district from the office of Senator Todd Kaminsky?
Second.
Moved and second on the question?
I just want to say thank you to Senator Kaminsky for his generosity and working with our communities and making sure that each year our schools are receiving these backpacks for families who are in need, and it is most appreciated and it is used. So thank you.
Thank you to Senator Kaminsky. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I meet item N regarding donation of violins. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, will the Board of Education accept a donation of 2 violins for the orchestra students at Shaw Avenue School from Jeannie Gonzalez, Shaw Avenue first grade teacher?
Second.
Moved and second on the question?
I just want to say thank you to Ms. Gonzalez because, as you know, the number of students that are signing up for music continues to increase each year, and instruments are not cheap, and they are a valued resource. So we really appreciate the fact that we are thought of in terms of as a group that could use these violins, and they will definitely be used. So thank you to Ms. Gonzalez for keeping us in mind.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I have a walk-in motion to introduce item P regarding Nassau BOCES letter of intent increase. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, will the Board of Education approve an increase in the Nassau BOCES letter of intent in the amount of $2,017.53 for an upgrade from standard to premium eSchool data support starting October 1st, 2020.
Second.
Moved and second on the question?
Just as a clarification, eSchool, for those who are not aware, that's our student information system, and we're just looking for additional support from BOCES.
Thank you, Dr. Sterling. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That concludes the new business/business report for tonight.
Thank you, Trustee Okafor. For the Finance Committee, Trustee Lavery?
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, everyone. For the finance report, do any trustees have any items they would like to remove for question, comment, or discussion?
No.
Take your time. Being there are no exceptions, I move that we accept items A, B, all the way through C as listed.
Moved and sorry, Ken. Moved and second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And that concludes the.
Thank you. Trustee Cummins, items of information?
Thank you, Madam President. The monthly maintenance report is attached for September. There's a lot of good things were done in the district. And the vandalism report, there was no vandalism, but there was an incident of children who were hanging around the school that wouldn't leave. And so we are thankful for any community members who actually see things like that and report it so that we don't have any vandalism going on. So thank you so much for that. And that concludes the items of information.
Is there any old business to come before the board?
No.
No. Just to end, I just want to say thank you very much to my trustees. I think I have a wonderful board. Thank you, guys. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 9:08, guys. See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Oh, button.